perfect, because you're already in the square. I feel like you've done this before, maybe, yeah? You're going to stay right in here?
Right in here.
Yeah.
Not with you.
Not with me.
Maybe. A little
Just,
bit.
you're media trained.
I would not say formally, but I am happy to be having this conversation.
Were you on a panel today?
I was, yes. We all just came back from our panel on UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Oh, that's awesome. How did it go?
I think it went well. It's never enough time. It was 40 minutes and it felt like 3. But a lot to unpack because we all come from a climate space, and that's such a foundation for all these different avenues of social impact. And that can be a very expansive conversation.
Absolutely. And this is just the place to get the conversation started. So perfect.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Matticus. I work with the Sunday Afternoon Project and here representing the United Nations. And we're just going to ask you a couple questions. And it's going to be pretty easy, okay? Can you tell me what motivates you, like what excites you to get up in the morning?
Well, I am not a morning person.
Okay.
So what keeps me up at night, what keeps me going, I'm burning the midnight oil, is reminding myself that one person can really make outsized impact. There's the capacity you have to do what you're passionate about and create that positive impact, but then being a role model for others to be inspired by that, and then having that ripple impact really course through your network, your spheres of influence. I've seen that really create a lot of wonderful change, a lot of community building, and just what life is worth living for, right? To have mini celebrations and micro wins and to step back and see how far you've come.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to take a live. So it sounds like you have a lot of passion, a lot of motivation, staying up at night. Would you consider yourself like a creative type?
I wouldn't self-identify as creative because I'm surrounded by so many wonderful creative people in my life. I love to dance, and that's been a big personal passion of mine throughout my whole life. It's been a wonderful outlet to take thoughts past the brain to your body and sort of allow stress to release, but also explore your comfort zone. And, you know, for example, when you have choreography, you kind of know what you need to do to certain parts of the music, but when you freestyle, you're sort of bare, and you have to really think about letting go and just moving to the music and how it moves you. And I think that's a wonderful metaphor for life and a lot of the things that we think need to be perfect or practiced and rehearsed. But when you kind of release in that way, you actually create wonderful art. You create things that may not be able to be recreated again, but that's also what makes it so unique and so ephemeral, and, you know, something to be really enjoyed.
Absolutely. I would say that's almost one of the most creative parts of being a creative. You're like, no, I'm not creative. That was a very creative response.
Okay.
Okay. So can you tell me what makes you feel like you belong? What gives you that sense of belonging?
That's a big question. I think I'm an immigrant, and my family immigrated from Malaysia originally to Taiwan and then to the United States in San Francisco. And so belonging was never guaranteed. I always felt like an outsider, but I didn't have the language to really place why until I was older and learned about identity and the Asian diaspora and what it means to be Asian American versus Asian. And so I think a really poignant moment for me in childhood was having lunch, opening up my lunchbox, and I know a lot of friends who have had this same experience negatively, where people say, "What does that smell? What are you eating? Where did that come from? That looks disgusting." And that's basically me. That's my culture. That, you know, food is such a visceral part of who we are and where we come from. And so to have a moment where I do that and people are actually, they know what it is, or they're interested, but they don't make you be a tour guide into your culture and who you are if you don't want to be. I feel like that's a very specific way of feeling that I belong, because it implies so much more about how people are accepting you and something that they may not be familiar with, but they're not feeling, you know, threatened by.
Yeah, what a beautiful response. I think sometimes people don't know how to be curious, you know, or express that, and it could come off quite harsh, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. So could you tell me, if you can go back in the past and tell your younger self just a piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
I would say to take up space. I am.
What does that mean?
I am the youngest of 4 children, and I also grew up in what they call sort of a third culture home, where the culture that your parents know and that they're creating for you is different than the one you're growing up in. And so I think culturally I was taught to be seen but not heard, to listen, defer to others, to always think about elders having more wisdom and respect, which I think is true, but it shouldn't take away from you knowing and coming into your own voice, feeling that your ideas are worthy of being heard, and to not worry about what other people think about you. And so take up space, sit at the table, put your elbows out, let people know what you think, because it's really important.
That's a great analogy. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.